A few weeks back, some serious speculations were going around about the Golden State Warriors' interest in signing the former 8-time All-Star Dwight Howard. However, after bringing him in for workouts and meeting him personally ahead of their training camp, the Warriors all of a sudden decided not to push through with him for some reason. Now, to understand more about this situation, let's look at some of the reasons why the Warriors didn't sign Dwight Howard. It's quite obvious that the real reason why they initially brought Dwight over is because they're looking for a player who could beef up their front line. Last season, the Dubs got trampled on by the unicorns of the league, and even though Draymond is considered to be one of the premier defenders in the league, he can only do so much in trying to contain these elite players. With Kevon Looney acting as their lone true big man, the Warriors were just too small at times, and this was highlighted when they got exposed in their series against the Lakers last playoffs. Sure, bringing in a former 3-time Defensive Player of the Year winner might just be the solution to their lack of size underneath, but in my view, the addition of Dwight would have been a stopgap measure that will eventually wear off at some point. See, even though he dominated the T1 League in Taiwan last season and was able to put up crazy numbers, I think we can all agree that the competition over there is nowhere near NBA level. So despite his impressive resume and dominance over in Taiwan, it doesn't guarantee him a walk-on spot on any roster. And aside from this factor, Dwight is turning 38 in a few months, and this doesn't help his cause at all in making a comeback to the NBA. As you can see here, Dwight's game started to drop back when he was just 34 years old. And as he grew older, he also got injured a lot, which means he saw fewer minutes, which ultimately affected his ability to contribute big numbers on both ends of the floor. And if I'm Mike Dunleavy, this isn't the trend that I want to see if I'm going to sign someone to be my main backup center. Now, speaking of the Warriors GM, here's the real reason why they didn't sign Dwight Howard.
Mike, can you characterize the discussions with Dwight Howard and what led to, a yes/no decision on him there?
Yeah, I would just say in general, like we brought maybe 40 or 50 guys in this summer to get a further look at. Knowing agents and people around the league knowing we've got 2 roster spots open. So there's a desire to come in and meet with us and play with our guys. And we've looked at a lot of different players, and some of them we'll bring into camp. But, the player you mentioned is just one of many that we brought in and evaluated. And, I think right now you'll know more about who we're inviting to camp in a couple days. But overall, we feel good about what we've done this summer, and we'll keep our options open in terms of who we need to add.
As you heard from Dunleavy, the signing of Dwight was not written in stone as some news outlets initially have reported, but rather, he's just one of the many potential candidates that the Dubs invited over that could possibly fill in the remaining spots of their roster. Apart from this, here's another reason why they gave a hard pass on Dwight.
A lot of the conversation obviously is around the big man position. Are you guys big enough? Jokic now kind of roams around the conference. Where are you at on your front court right now? I know you guys brought in several veterans at all positions this summer, but including bigs, Tony Bradley, Dwight Howard was probably the highlight name there. Where are you at on your front court? And are you of the belief that what you guys have, while technically undersized, NBA-wise, is big enough for the battles that could be coming down the line?
Yeah, I think we're looking at it going into training camp right now. We have 5 guys under Robbie Sanduson and Gruba today on a 2-way. We have 5 guys that can give us minutes at the 5 position. And I think about it through camp, making sure everybody gets the appropriate amount of reps. Our rookie, Trace Jackson-Davis, we drafted in the 2nd round. We want him to get some reps. Gruba, absolutely same thing. Young player, want him to play. So I think as we kind of look at that and evaluate it, we want to make sure there's enough reps in camp and early on in the season. But we'll constantly be evaluating. I think we'll keep flexibility open. And sure, we could add a big, we could add a wing, maybe there's an injury, we can add a guard. So I think for us, more so than any position of need right now, we're really focused on flexibility, and we'll see where we go from here.
The reason why Dunleavy didn't lock in on Dwight is that they think that there's gotta be a better player than him, which is why they didn't sign him and effectively kept the 2 remaining roster spots still open. He also mentioned in the interview that they're pretty loaded at the big man slot, which is why they were not able to entertain the idea of adding Howard into the mix. As of this video, the Warriors have 5 players who can man the front court and play the center position. There's Kevon Looney, Draymond Green, their rookie Trayce Jackson-Davis, and their latest free agent signings, Dario Saric and Usman Garuba. With this said, let's talk about these 5 men and compare each of them to Dwight to see if the Dubs really made the right decision in shutting him down. First, let's talk about Kevon Looney. Among the 5 bigs that Dunleavy mentioned, Looney is probably the closest to Dwight in terms of size and frame. While Dwight is a bit bigger than him, I think Looney has a huge advantage over Dwight in terms of his familiarity with the Dubs system. Looney has played 8 seasons with the Warriors, and throughout the years, Looney has solidified himself as the best rebounder and screener for the team. Now, although I think Dwight can do what Looney does on a nightly basis, he's not going to be as efficient as Looney simply because he doesn't have the chemistry that Looney had with Steph Curry and the rest of the guys. Next up, let's talk about Draymond Green. On the defensive end, I think Draymond and Dwight can both hold their own. Both of them were nominated as part of the all-defensive team on numerous occasions, and Howard was a former 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, while Draymond also got one Defensive Player of the Year award himself. Now, the big difference though between Draymond and Dwight is versatility. Even though the league has already evolved, Dwight continues to play like a traditional center, and as we all know, the back-to-the-basket old-school centers like him experienced a slow death as most teams preferred more versatile big men or unicorns who can do multiple things with great size and length. Draymond, on the other hand, has established himself as one of the most versatile glue guys in the league, who can guard from 1 to 5 and facilitate on the offensive end for the Warriors at the same time. To put it simply, Dwight's game seems to be limited and doesn't suit the modern game of the NBA anymore. Plus, he doesn't bring too much to the table, unlike Draymond. So I think these factors were also taken into account back when they were considering signing Dwight. Anyways, from Draymond, let's now move on and talk about Trayce Jackson-Davis. While Dwight seems to be a lot stronger and more experienced than TJD, TJD has something that Dwight will never possess, and that is his youth. As I mentioned earlier, Dwight is about to turn 38 in a few months, while TJD will be just 23 years young when he suits up for the Dubs next season. With the league experiencing immense growth in terms of pace and floor spacing, most teams in the league prefer young, athletic legs to run back and forth all over the court over the huffing and puffing older dudes, with the exception of LeBron freaking James. The fact of the matter is that Dwight is just too old for the fast-paced NBA, and I believe the wear and tear of his body will also play a key factor in his durability and longevity if he ever steps foot on an NBA court once again. Now, lastly, let's compare Dwight to Dario Saric and Usman Garuba. One of the potential reasons why they didn't pick up Dwight is because he doesn't have outside shooting, unlike Saric. Dwight never really developed an outside shooting throughout his career, and this aspect of his game is probably the biggest thing that could prevent him from landing an NBA contract. Saric, on the other hand, is not only a solid screener, he's also a great shooter who can knock it down on the kick or in pick-and-pop scenarios. Meanwhile, although Garuba is not as tall as Dwight, he's an energy guy who can provide hustle plays and do the little things on both ends. On top of this, the age factor also favors Garuba, as he'll be just 21 years old by the time the season starts. Given the stuff that we just talked about, I think the Dubs didn't sign Howard mainly because of 2 reasons. One is that his game doesn't fit well with their system, and 2, the Warriors believe that Dwight is not capable of playing at a high level anymore. I mean, let's face it, at 37 years old, Dwight is just a shell of his former all-star self, and he's now at the tail end of his career, with the hopes that he could have some sort of a fairy tale finish at least. Now, although the door seems to be closed for Dwight as of the moment, the Warriors can still reconsider Dwight right after training camp if they are unable to find the right personnel that will fit in and complete their lineup. But regardless of whether he ends up signing with the Warriors or not, there's a high chance that other contending teams might sweep him up because even at 37 years old, Dwight proved that he's still a serviceable big man, as he can still make an impact on both ends and provide quality minutes whenever he gets an opportunity to play.